Well, hey, Happy New Year. Good to be back together with everyone. Obviously, exciting day with the official signing day. Obviously, a lot has happened since the last time we got together. A lot of new players, over 25 new guys that are in the program, new staff members. Good start to the winter workouts as we've been going here. Really thankful for the community support and the Link the 619 campaign that we started at the tail end of last year that had great response, that allowed us to do a ton of great work during the first portal window and being able to retain our guys and to continue to build, a dynamic roster here and keep the continuity and retaining our key players and having that consistency will be clutch as we continue to build the connections here on the team and build the culture and have people in new leadership roles. And as the players continue to step up and grow, it's been a lot of fun to see the work that's been done here through the first 2.5 weeks since we've been back on campus. Fun for the staff, selfishly, because it's our first full week back from being out on the road to be around the guys full time here as we get prepped and ramp up for spring practice and everything. So, there's lots of different topics to discuss, lots of new players, and kind of just open it up from there and take it wherever we want to go here.
Sean, do you feel you're hitting the reset button and having to start from square one, at least offensively, after what happened last year and losing the quarterback?
I think that each and every single year and what we get to do, right, it's a brand new team. Even though it's year 2 for myself at the helm, this team for 2025, it's year 1 for them. And there's going to be new guys and new roles. And even though guys have some continuity of playing together, there's going to be schematic adjustments that happen each and every single year. So having, familiar faces and having relationships that are in the building allow us to do our work at a higher level. But as a whole, whether it's, it was last year, it was year 1 for various reasons, right? This is still year 1, for this 2025 team. And every single year, that's the challenge of what we get to do. And it's what recharges us every single time we flip the calendar and we start a new year and we begin to work our process better than we've ever done it, right? Like, it's with a new group of guys, it's with a new cast of characters. And even though there was guys that had been in the building in the past, they're going to step up in new roles. And we get to create this team for the first time in 2025. And that's really, really exciting to do.
You've said in the past it takes about 1.5 years for that offense to really take hold, but with all the new personnel, does that change at all, or how do you look at it?
Yeah, again, we've taken a lot of time to really refine the process of how we do it, because in the past it has been that 1.5 year mark that has been consistent to where the way that we've been able to operate it and roll. There's some things, I think where we teach a little bit cleaner, a little bit better, that can expedite that process, and then guys having a greater understanding of how we need to maximize the time that we do have to, again, expedite that learning to, make that process happen sooner rather than later. But it still is going to be a process that we have to work through. And, we've talked a lot about time since we've shown up here, and I believe that we truly have enough time to get this done in 2025. We just don't have time to waste as we go forward with it, right? And I think in the past, when you knew, hey, I'm going to show up and we're going to be at a place for 3-4 years as a player, and there's no fluidity of movement like the way that there's been in the past, maybe that leads to a little bit of complacency to set in, so it takes a little bit longer. But now we, again, have this greater sense of urgency within the building, and guys are eager to learn and step up. But to have a guy, like Ross along the front, that's going to help the new offensive lineman grow and assimilate to how we do it, and to have Jordan Napier back to, set the pace and to literally tell the guys, look, y'all came here because you want to put up numbers and you want to play really fast. Well, here's what's required behind the scenes that no one sees to actually play the style of play. Helps expedite all those learnings and those processes as we go forward with it.
How much does it help having 2 new quarterbacks who are pretty veteran?
Yeah, it's good, right? just to have those game experiences and that maturity, and have gone through the college lifestyle is good to have. And again, it's fun for us to pour into them and to believe in them, and to for them to reignite their careers in a way that is uniquely different from the places that they have been. But it's a fun challenge, and it's a great opportunity to pour into those guys and to instill belief in them, and to really showcase their physical skills as we continue to learn more about what we believe to be true off the tape that we saw, and obviously seeing Bert live and in person last year. To build out a plan of attack that highlights and accentuates their skills, and is able to use that skill set to best utilize the offense.
What can you say about their skill sets and how those fit into what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, they're both big kids. They're both dual threat kids that have the ability to stress the defense in a lot of different ways, right? They both have arm talent. They both have the ability to run, and they're both very, very cerebral kids from the time that we spent on, Zoom meetings with them through the process and having them here on campus for their official visits and everything. They really think about the game in a mature way. They have a great foundational understanding of just football 101 that just is a good, solid foundation to be able to build upon and then be able to, obviously download and implement and install our concepts for how we want to do it. And as we get to spend more time with them, like we have a good idea of what we think they're going to be best suited to do. But obviously until we're able to, truly do the work with them and refine not only what they're best at and help them grow, but then the other pieces that we've assembled around them, it's our job, to do a better job of building a unique scheme and an attack that, really highlights their strengths and the strengths of everyone that's around them.
How different styles manual from Denver?
Not a ton. I mean, they're both dual threat kids. And again, I think if you line them up, I think Bert would probably tell you that he's going to beat, Denigal in a race, and Denigal would tell you that he was going to beat Bert in a race, and they're both going to tell you that they're going to win a throwing competition. They're both highly competitive kids in that regard. But, in terms of their size and speed and their makeup and everything, they're pretty similar so that we can, again, refine it, and tweak it ever so slightly based off of, who's operating it. But generally speaking, we're going to be able to keep the continuity of what we're doing and what we're building pretty similar, regardless of who's under center with the two of them.
Can you talk a little bit about Josiah Cox, Christian Washington, two local guys who have made their way back home, and what you hope to see them bring to this team?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's started since day one with us here in our hometown. And obviously, those were two hometown heroes that got away that we were able to bring back. And again, for both of them, they have experience, they have playing time, they've gained wisdom from their time away, and looking forward to them coming in and competing. Both of them have infectious personalities, like they're guys that when they come in the building, right, like they're active participants in creating a really positive environment and a positive culture. So looking forward to both of them, doing that consistently, day in and day out, and then being really dynamic players for us, right, and all the different ways that we can utilize. JoJo's a pretty physical kid. He's got a nose for the football. He's pretty instinctual, and is able to make some really good plays. And then Christian, again, obviously there's quite a bit of production that left the building from the running back room and Coop with all that he did for our program. And we need someone to step up and to carry that load, and we're gonna have Christian be a part of that mix along with Cam and along with Lucky and Sincere coming off the injury. Is moving around as good as he ever has since he's been here, and looking forward to that competition and how all those guys push each other as they go forward.
Last year, I think you had 9 running backs listed on the roster. This year, there's 4. Is that any concern at all?
No concern. Again, I think I feel very, very confident with what we have in Cam, very confident in what we have with Lucky, right? Obviously, we got Christian who just came back. We got Sincere coming off an injury, and then we have Jordan who we signed as well, right? So we'll go into the season with 5, and obviously with us being a one-back outfit, that's on par for where we need to be, and with the way our scholarship allocation is balanced up, for how we want to attack it.
The bookend tackles, is the prototype tackle in your system, you want big 6'8", 6'7", through something on the edge?
Yeah, I want big bodies along those front lines on either side as best as possible, right? Like, I think Sir Isaac Newton had the theory where big people beat up little people, right? Or he may have said it a different way, but I'm pretty sure that still holds true, right? And so controlling the trenches up front there, like I want a bunch of big bodies that when I'm in the huddle with them, that they're eye to eye with me, right? Like that's kind of the first prerequisite for our staff when they go out on the road is that, hey, when I bring this kid back to campus, is he going to be eye to eye with coach, especially at those tackle positions where length is at a premium. But then as they play collectively together, especially up front, like it should feel like a waterfall of those guys just play after play, barreling down on the D-line in the front repeatedly over and over and over again. But, yeah, I mean, size, mass, length without compromising athleticism are things that we value, right? Like that old line room should be able to walk across the street to the student rec and be competitive in any pickup basketball game. That's the sort of length and athleticism that we're looking for.
You kind of give us your thoughts on the class in general and break it down. There's half freshman almost and half transfer.
Yeah, I mean, so, again, a lot's made about where you get your talent from and everything, right? Like, I think the biggest piece for us is still that the consistent heartbeat that's going to drive this program going forward is elite high school recruiting, right? So I think we are more balanced than what a lot of people are doing around the country in terms of how things have gotten skewed to where there's that immediate fix that guys are hoping for with just going portal heavy. Like, I still think having the time to facilitate the relationships and have this first full year of getting to know this freshman signee class out of the high school ranks is always going to be at a premium. And yet we still need to be smart and we need to be efficient in how, okay, where are there holes that need, guys that are more matured bodies, that are more developed players and have gone through the collegiate life and those experiences, that we can fill those holes and those voids through the portal, right? But we constantly, year after year, want to view high school recruiting, again, as the draft, right? Like, these two teams are going to play this Sunday, the Eagles and the Chiefs. They've built their organizations and they've built their franchises through the draft, and then they supplement through NFL free agency. And we very much want that to be the same way here for the makeup of our roster over the long haul, that it's built consistently year after year through the relationships in our backyard here in California and, down in the Phoenix area and in Vegas, where we've made some hay and we continue to make relationships and where the bulk of our talent's going to come from, but then use the portal to supplement the holes within the roster. But again, the size, length along the trenches was at a premium. We're still working to get some more things done, that there might be some, late day signees that we'll be able to, brag about in that regard as well, to continue to bolster the fronts. And then again, playmakers, both defensively and offensively, that have a nose for the football, that are instinctual and can change the scoreboard and do more than just, the job that's been prescribed.
Most freshmen end up redshirting, but are there any guys there that you see that might be able to contribute immediately?
Too early to tell. I mean, this is literally my third day back off the road and kind of my first full day of being able to watch the guys work out, interact with them a little bit. Again, in an ideal world, I'd love to be able to redshirt, the majority of them, as you alluded to, Kirk. And we'll see if I get that luxury to be able to do that, or if some guys are able to press and, do a good job competing and they can have a meaningful role where they can contribute and help us win. Then again, we'll have those conversations as we go. And the next time we have to make those conversations, this whole redshirt thing might not even be a factor. It might just be 5 for 5 and away we go, so all to be determined in that regard.
You think we're that close to that?
I think by the time this press conference ends, something might be new, I mean, there's so much that's going on, which is really cool to be a part of. But I think we're probably closer to that, than we were at the end of the season. That's for sure.
The guard from Michigan State, Fisher,
Yeah.
a lot of experience. That kid came in and played instantly. What do you see in it?
Yeah.
How'd you get him?
Yeah, and so he popped up on our radar. There was actually a family connection that when he popped in that Coach Schmidt had with one of his family members that probably gave us the inside track, on that young man that allowed us to get him out here. Again, he has started games within the Big Ten. He's got a good number of snaps and reps underneath his belt against high-level competition. So, yeah, we're bringing him in here to solidify, our interior offensive line. If we're not good through the core on both sides of the ball, those interior three offensively, obviously the quarterback position, the running back position. If you're not solid through that core, kind of like a good baseball team, right? If you're pitcher, catcher, center field, if you're not strong through the core, you don't have very much of a chance, right? And so it's the same thing, with football, right? Between your interior offensive lineman, quarterback, running back, and then obviously your interior D lineman and your linebackers and safeties. If your core is not strong, everything else is going to cripple, right? So we see him as a guy that's going to come in and add value. He's got 1 year left to play, pending any other new rules or legislations and waivers that might change that. But looking forward to him being able to be a key contributor this year for sure.
What's the latest on the waiver for kids that were in junior college? Something that's going back and forth.
Yeah, so I know the one that we're getting back is Bryce for sure, right? So he had exhausted his eligibility, did senior day, was down training for a post collegiate showcase, and everything went down with that. And we were able to get some clarity in that regard to where he's back with us and has that bonus year. Beyond that, any other guys that had done JUCO ball, it's kind of wait and see to be determined. I know with that waiver, from my understanding of it, is that it just impacts and affects the guys who had exhausted eligibility, and we'll see where that goes in the future for other guys who obviously have used some years at junior colleges and how that impacts them as we go forward. But I think, again, that's where some of this 5-for-5 stuff will come into play regardless of where those 5 years came from.
If a kid played 2 years at a JC, that's not really addressed yet. It's only if you've been.
Correct. Yeah. It only speaks to the guys who, when the season ended last year, that they had exhausted eligibility. That's where it pertains to.
Scholarships are still available.
A handful. I got a handful right now. But again, to be determined with the 105 and pending house settlement and as that goes. So obviously there's going to be more movement that will come here with the spring portal window, where guys in the locker room will make choices. But again, the connection and the response when the last portal that we had, right, portal opening, I feel pretty good about the continuity and the consistency, of that locker room and where we're at right now. But have a couple to play with. But again, want to be selective and, have them in positions of real value and need.
Yeah, how are you managing all that right now? We've heard like the house settlement, I think, is supposed to news on that maybe April.
Yep.
How do you manage that day-to-day and look ahead and give you a plan?
Yeah, I mean, have a great staff that help out, right, and practice. I guess the best way to put it is like intermittent decision making right now, right? Like the things that I know that are pressing that need to make a decision that impact from now until April 7th. All right, we got to make timely decisions on that. Anything that is beyond that right now, we have, kind of a plan that is ready to operate and go that is predicated on, hey, everything goes through as is. There's a contingency plan, there's a tertiary plan, and there's a, all right, you throw it all together plan, right? And so you're going to lean on really smart people. We got great people in the building that are helping out, right, to be able to bounce ideas off of. And then, again, like with the kids, as we're having conversations with them, just being transparent and honest about it all as we go forward with it. Hey, we're making good, sound decisions about the information and the things that we know to be true right now, and also knowing that things are going to be coming down the pipe that are going to change, and, making sure that there's enough flexibility and options to position our program in San Diego State in the best position to be competitive. And it's what we've always done, right? This place has done a great job of innovating, adapting, and still winning championships through all the changes that has happened throughout the college landscape. And I know we're going to continue to do the same.
In what ways do you see the house settlement affecting San Diego State football?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of revenue sharing, being able to come in and obviously transitioning to the Pac-12 with the amount of revenue that's going to be pulled into us, right, is going to elevate because we'll have more resources to be able to pour into our guys in all facets and for the whole athletic department as a whole. I mean, so that's going to be a great strategic win for us to continue to elevate and ascend to where our expectations and aspirations are.
Your push to get compensation if you lose transfers, discussed at the coaches convention, and where do you think that's going?
In terms of like the collectives and everything, are you saying, or what aspect of it?
During the season, you said your idea would be if we lose a player who goes up,
Yeah.
we should be compensated, and that seemed to gain some traction at the coaches convention. Do you think it's going to happen?
I mean, that's all, I think, like just a lot of spitball and a lot of brainstorming right now. I think we're much closer to the 5-for-5 than we are for, us adopting a finder's fee plan of things. So we'll see where that goes.
What about the 10-day window for the transfer portal that the coaches want to change? Is that going to kick in, and when do you think that would happen?
I think there's still a lot of steps that need to go through for that to become real. With the number of days that are available now and multiple windows. Again, I know from a coach's standpoint, that's what we would like, but obviously we're just one party that's involved with all these decision-making processes, and every person that's at the table is going to have an opinion upon what's best with it all, right? And again, I think we got to do a great job of taking into all accounts the fact that these guys are still very much going to school, we're still getting degrees, and we're still helping them transform as young men, into better young men as they walk away from here. So, does that 10-day window best suit and prioritize what happens within your football locker room? Absolutely. But do we still need to take into account all factors that are involved with all of this to, getting a guy to start at the spring semester, and how do we work through admissions and those processes as well? We need to be empathetic and make sure that we're accounting for all of that, whether we're on a semester, plan or a trimester plan and all those different things as we go forward with it. So we'll see. We made our recommendation. I think it was kicked to the university presidents and the athletic directors for them to be able to, knock the idea around a little bit. And then, the student athletes are going to have their say with it, with their SAC meetings as well. So we'll see where it goes.
At the coaches convention, did anything else come out of that in your mind that you think there was a big push for?
I mean, again, like we as coaches, right, we live in our bubbles, and, there's a lot of things that we wish and we hope for, but nothing I think that has, major traction at this point in time to, that warrants a deeper conversation on. A lot of it was around the transfer portal window, right, and what do we think is going to be best for that, and how do we best kind of corral the calendar and make it work, right? I mean, like, we literally reported back on the night that we reported back, and we started, move-in weekend on January 20th. We had our first team meeting back, and we were starting winter conditioning, and the previous season's championship was being played that night, right? So we're in this brave new world of where football had always been a one-semester sport for the most part, and the biggest night in all of college football was January 1, and there was this clear break that football was a fall semester and fall semester only deal, and now obviously that is bleeding deeper into a two-semester sport, and how does that then impact, again, kids' enrollments, the portal options, and all that goes into it, so again, lots to work through in that regard.
Do you sense that the spring portal window will go away?
Again, I think everyone's got a lot of different opinions about it, right? Like, we did a lot of great work as a staff and, again, as a community with the Link the 619 campaign to keep our hometown heroes here. And I would love to be able to sit here and know and say, like, hey, all that hard work that we did, hey, paid off, and the roster is what it is, and we're set and we're good to go. But, again, knowing the options that are available, I don't know how much of that's going to get limited as we go forward for the student athletes.
The spring allows you, after spring football, to go, hey, maybe we're a little shy here or there. Maybe go fill some gaps. At the same time, it does create movement. What would your preference be, to have it or not have it?
I think in an ideal world, you would still have that spring portal window to be able to go acquire a graduate transfer. To me, like, if you've done right and you've graduated and you got the freedom and flexibility, to move, that's always been one that makes a whole lot of sense. And then again, like, just there's various mechanisms that are always in place, right? There's going to be some late qualifiers from the high school ranks that get their grades right that would be available that you'd be able to sign at the end of spring, right? There's junior college kids that are going to be available at the end of spring that you're going to be able to go sign. So I think those three talent acquisition buckets or options, would give you enough options, one would hope, right, to be able to, fill the voids that are in your roster. And then there's that other piece that we take a whole lot of pride in as well as, okay, we're at the end of spring and we're not quite game ready yet, and there might be a hole, but now we got 8 weeks of summer conditioning and training camp. Crazy idea, let's develop the guys that are on our roster and get them ready to play this fall. I think that'd be cool.
Any position changes right now?
Jason Mitchell is going to experiment a little bit at playing some wide receiver. That's probably the biggest one of note.
Sean, is it a temporary thing? Is it an epidemic?
It's happening a lot. I don't know what qualifies as a epidemic, but it's out there, right? I mean, Coach Rule made his comments, right, about tampering versus, hey, it's an open market. I mean, guys, Pro Football Focus, right? Like, the analytics that gives all these guys grades and all the numbers and everything's available. Like, every single snap that is played in college football is out and is available. So you got a huge staff, and you start seeing these staffs coming together of, hey, this guy's in charge of our college recruitment department. What are those guys looking at all day? Right? And then what do those people do? So, yeah, it's there. It's available. But, again, like, those are a lot of problems that I can't control or worry about. We pour into our guys and have great relationships, and I think we're doing it the right way, which is proven by the actions that took place or the inaction that took place with the movement on our roster of the key guys that we have, right? Like, every single guy that had eligibility remaining, that was any sort of all-conference, player, is down in that locker room. And I'm darn proud of that, and the relationships that our staff have with those kids, and the commitment and the belief that those kids have in our vision and where we're going as a program.
What you're saying is you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
You said that. There's a lot that's going on right now. But again, right, like, there's always been stuff going on, right? Like, there's always been stuff going on. This is a super competitive environment that we all willingly step into, right? Like, what's the line from Godfather? Like, hey, like, this is the family business. Like, this is the family business. Like, this is what we chose to get into, and I'm not going to sit up here and complain about it. Like, we know what it is, and I can complain and waste time and energy complaining about that. It ain't going to help anything. Like, we got a great group of kids in that locker room. We got great staff on this floor, and we got a great community that, again, to no surprise, like showed up and showed out with the Link the 619 campaign, and we need them to continue to show up. Like we got our Aztec Fast Showcase coming up here on April 19th, and it's going to be a great opportunity for our fan base to come out to an open practice and see our guys and interact with the new faces and all the things that are going on. And I'm going to pour into that and how special it is to be here and what a privilege it is to be here and to lead these guys and everything else that's going on. It's a part of it, and it's always been there. We just talk about it now.
How disappointed are you after all you invested in Daniel, all of his future was so bright here that he bolted? Yeah.
I mean, again, guys, at the end of the day, I want what's best for these kids. I want what is best for these kids. And if Danny and his family felt that getting back to the Midwest was best for himself, his career, and his family, then I support that 100%. Wish him nothing but the best.
What do you need to accomplish over the next few weeks in the run-up to spring practice?
We got to get connected as a team. Going back and looking at it when adversity hit last year, right? We were probably more of a collection of individuals than we were an actual team that knew each other, that had deep connected bonds. And, there was good fight in that club. But I'm just saying, you look at it, right? You do the after-action review, and to weather the storms that we know that are going to come, whether they're in spring ball or in the fall, just being intentional and being really focused about becoming connected. Again, there's 25 plus new guys. There's new staff members. We got to get to know one another. Truly, because if you're going to sacrifice and you're going to play this beautiful team game, and we're going to have the type of culture that I know that we are, that's going to act a certain way and show up and react the right way and how we interact with one another, we got to know who we are. We can't just, that's one of my teammates and I don't know his name. And no, guys, we got to know one another. We got to truly know one another and our stories and our journeys and why the good Lord has all brought us here together for a reason. I truly believe that, right? So we got to get to know one another before we start putting on the pads and we start, getting into the details of X's and O's and everything else. We got to truly get to know one another and be focused in that process.
You think in some ways that didn't happen, and what do you do differently this year to make that?
Yeah, it for sure didn't happen because there was so much going on, and I can justify any bad excuse about, hey, all these new staff members and all the things that I had to do, and I need to figure out, at the end of the day, I wasn't intentional enough about setting aside the time to carve out those opportunities for us to communicate, for us to talk. And so we're doing that. We're setting aside the time to where, hey, we're going to get in small groups. We're going to learn each other's story. We're going to set aside time to, have conversations where we're going to be vulnerable. We're going to get to know one another. We're going to, truly talk through what makes us us. My experiences are completely different than anyone else in this building. Not good, better, and different. They're different, right, than all of us in this room. And those past experiences make us who we are. And so if we're going to step inside the white lines together, 11 young men are going to step inside the white lines together in any phase of this game, and it's going to be crunch time in the fourth quarter with sweat running down our visors, you better know who's lining up next to you and what they're doing this for, and that they're willing to sacrifice and to play this beautiful team game that teaches us so much about life for the right reasons. If you don't know who that person is, you don't care who that person is, well then why does it matter for me to maintain my outside arm and leg so that I can leverage the ball back to my buddy? Well, I'm just going to be selfish and I'm going to undercut this thing and go make the play. Well, now the integrity of the call is sacrificed and see ya. That's bad ball, right? So we got an awesome human system here in this building that we call Aztec football, and we play Aztec fast. But we got to make sure that human system is right and be intentional about getting to know the humans that make it up. And then whether it's community service hours, giving back, serving, degrees, wins, championships, all that will come. Those results will come because the humans in the building are connected, they're tied together, and they know one another, and they're willing to sacrifice for one another. And great stuff's going to come because of that.
In that regard, maybe some offshoot, Xavier Hamlet's got an event coming up Friday. Can you
Heck
talk a
yeah.
little bit about that and what he's been trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, Xavier's awesome, right? You talk about a young man who, regardless of his status and stature in life, has given back and served, and the way that he's pouring into his community that he's from is exceptional. And I appreciate you shining a light on what he's doing. I truly do, because we've got great guys in that locker room. And Xavier and what he's doing and the way that he's poured in not only members of our team, but other student athletes and members of the San Diego community to give back and to serve the less fortunate, to prop them up and to, just give them a warm jacket and, give them some resources to, help them in their standing. It's truly phenomenal. And I mean, it's hard for me to keep up with all that he's doing. And at times I got to look myself in the mirror like, am I doing enough? And it's awesome what X is able to do and, the positive light that he is in this world.
I had a question on Marcus Cooper. Is he been invited to go to the combine team?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything. I know he obviously competed in the postseason bowl game and everything and did well. All the feedback back from that has been positive, and have talked to a couple different NFL organizations. And someone gives that young man an opportunity, which I believe he'll earn, they're not going to regret it. So looking forward to see what the future holds for Coop.